The US says it's done bombing Yemen. The Houthis say they'll stop attacking US ships. But Israel is still striking. And Yemen still bleeding. What's actually going on here? Let's break it down. Recently, US President Donald Trump made a surprise declaration. A ceasefire between the US and the Houthis had been reached. Trump claimed the Houthis had bent the knee, calling it a victory for the United States. But oddly, he also praised the Houthis for their bravery and resilience. According to Trump, the deal meant no more US strikes on Yemen and no more Houthi attacks on Red Sea ship, a key Houthi tactic to pressure Israel over Gaza. But here's where it gets complicated. The ceasefire doesn't include Israel. In fact, the Houthis say they will continue targeting Israel until humanitarian aid is allowed into Gaza. And while the US may be stepping back, Israel is doubling down. Just days after the announcement, Israeli airstrikes hit multiple targets in Yemen, killing at least 3 people, wounding dozens and damaging civilian infrastructure like Uida port and Sana'a port. The Houthis, in response, promised retaliation. So why the disconnect? Some analysts believe this signals a growing chill between Trump and Netanyahu, despite years of alignment. Netanyahu has privately criticized Trump's recent Middle East moves, especially his talks with Iran. Now, Trump's decision to exclude Israel from the ceasefire and say nothing about Houthi attacks on Israel is raising eyebrows. To understand the Houthis' persistence, you have to understand who they are. They have survived a decade of war against superior forces, first from a Saudi-led coalition, then from the US and UK. They are agile, decentralized, and used to surviving under siege. Even 250 plus civilian deaths from recent US strikes, including 68 people at a refugee detention center, haven't stopped their operations, and neither, it seems, will Israeli attacks. Israel says its strikes aim to deter or weaken the Houthis, but that's easier said than done. Unlike Hamas or Hezbollah, the Houthis operate in vast mountainous terrain, making their leaders harder to track and their weapons harder to destroy. And unlike Gaza, northern Yemen is enormous, with countless places to hide fighters and equipment. Meanwhile, Yemen's humanitarian crisis is deepening. Israeli strikes destroyed civilian planes, damaged major aid ports, and worsened conditions for the 18 million Yemenis already in the need of assistance. More than 17 million face acute food shortages, around 5 million are near famine. Destroying Yemen's ports could push the country into unprecedented disaster. This is not just a military campaign, it's a fight over survival for civilians caught in the crossfire. For now, the US and Houthis are not firing at each other, but Israel-Houthi conflict is heating up, and the civilians of Yemen are paying the price. Unless the war in Gaza moves towards the truce, experts say this regional firestorm is unlikely to stop. As long as the Houthis remain defiant and Israel keeps striking, ceasefire may only apply to the part of the battlefield. Subscribe to DawnNews English for more in-depth coverage of conflicts unfolding across the Middle East.